The first thing the teacher noticed was not the silence, but the way it felt heavier than usual, as if the classroom itself was holding its breath. 20 small desks were filled with restless 5-year-olds, shoes tapping, pencils rolling, laughter bubbling and popping like sparks. All except one. In the far corner sat a little girl who refused to sit down. She stood stiffly beside her chair, knees locked, arms wrapped tightly around her small body, eyes fixed on the floor as if it were the safest place in the world. No matter how many gentle reminders floated across the room, she did not move. She did not cry. She did not speak. She just stood there, trembling, as though sitting might shatter something inside her forever. Her name was Lily, and she had been like this since the first bell rang. The teacher, a woman who had spent more than a decade learning the language of children's silences, felt a slow unease crawl into her chest. This was not defiance. This was not shyness. This was fear, the kind that lives deep and quiet, the kind that teaches a child to freeze rather than run. Lily's backpack sat neatly beneath her desk. Her hair was brushed. Her shoes were clean. Everything about her said she was cared for. And yet something was terribly, painfully wrong. The teacher approached slowly, kneeling so she wouldn't tower over the child. She spoke softly, with the practiced calm of someone who had soothed countless scraped knees and broken crayons. Lily did not respond. Her lips quivered just enough to betray the storm inside her. The teacher reached out instinctively, then stopped, remembering how some children flinched at sudden touch. She asked if Lily was feeling sick. Nothing. She asked if Lily needed the bathroom. Still nothing. The room grew quieter, the other children sensing that something serious was unfolding. When the teacher gently suggested that Lily sit down so class could begin, the little girl shook her head for the first time. It was a tiny movement, almost invisible, but it carried the weight of a scream. Her hands tightened around the fabric of her skirt, gripping it as if it were the last thing holding her together. That was when the teacher noticed it, a faint dark stain near the hem, too dark to be paint, too uneven to be dirt. The teacher's heart skipped, then began to pound so loudly she wondered if the children could hear it. She swallowed, forcing herself to stay calm. She told Lily it was okay, that everything was going to be all right, that she was safe here. Slowly, carefully, she asked if Lily was hurt. Lily's eyes finally lifted, glassy and full, and in them was a look no 5-year-old should ever carry. It was a look of shame, of confusion, of having something terrible happen and not knowing how to explain it. The teacher guided Lily gently toward the nurse's office, one careful step at a time. With each step, the weight in her chest grew heavier. Inside the office, away from the curious eyes of classmates, the truth revealed itself in a way that shattered any remaining doubt. The stain on Lily's skirt was blood, fresh, real, and it did not belong in a kindergarten classroom. The teacher's hands began to shake as she knelt in front of Lily again. She felt tears rise unbidden, but she blinked them back. This was not the moment for her fear. This was the moment for strength. She asked simple questions, her voice steady even as her heart broke. Lily did not have the words to explain what had happened, only broken fragments of understanding that painted a picture too dark to ignore. That was when the teacher stood up, walked to the phone, and dialed 911. The minutes that followed felt unreal, stretched thin like glass about to shatter. Lily sat on the edge of the chair, still refusing to sit fully, her small hands gripping the fabric of her skirt. The teacher stayed close, offering silent comfort, her presence a promise that Lily was no longer alone. When the paramedics arrived, the school seemed to freeze. The sounds of sirens echoed through the hallways, carrying with them the weight of urgency and truth. Lily was taken to the hospital, and with her went a chain reaction of events that would ripple far beyond that quiet classroom. Doctors confirmed what the teacher had feared. Authorities were notified, questions were asked, and a world that Lily barely understood came crashing down around her. At home, Lily's mother sat in a stiff plastic chair, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles turned white. She had always believed she was doing her best. Long hours at work, trusting family members, telling herself that love meant providing food, shelter, and routine. She never imagined that something so horrific could happen under her watch. When the truth surfaced, it hit her like a physical blow. Guilt wrapped itself around her chest, squeezing until breathing felt impossible. The days that followed were a blur of hospital rooms, whispered conversations, and forms filled with words too heavy to read. Lily withdrew into herself, her world shrinking to the size of a single stuffed animal she refused to let go of. She stopped laughing. She stopped playing. Sitting down became impossible, a reminder her body could not escape. The teacher visited once, bringing crayons and paper. She did not ask questions. She did not push. She simply sat nearby, coloring quietly, showing Lily that some people could stay without demanding anything in return. It was a small act, but it mattered more than anyone realized. Time moved forward, as it always does, even when hearts lag behind. Therapy began, slow and gentle. Lily learned new words, not just for colors and shapes, but for feelings she had never known how to name: fear, anger, sadness, trust. Some days were good, others felt like starting over from nothing. The teacher returned to her classroom, but she was no longer the same. Every child's silence sounded louder now. Every small flinch carried meaning. She attended trainings, spoke up in meetings, and became the kind of advocate she hadn't known she needed to be. She understood now that noticing was not enough. Action saved lives. Lily eventually returned to school. The first day back, she stood by her chair again, frozen in place. The classroom waited. The teacher knelt beside her, not rushing, not insisting. She reminded Lily that she was safe, that sitting was her choice, that her body belonged to her. After a long moment, Lily slowly bent her knees and sat. It was not graceful, it was not confident, but it was a victory so powerful the teacher had to turn away to hide her tears. Years passed. Lily grew taller. Her voice grew stronger. The shadows of her past never fully disappeared, but they no longer controlled her every step. She learned to speak up, to set boundaries, to trust carefully and wisely. She learned that what happened to her did not define her worth. Her mother changed too. She learned that love was not just about providing, but about being present, about listening even when it was uncomfortable, about asking questions and believing the answers. She carried regret, but she carried growth alongside it. And the teacher, who once cried in a quiet office after making the hardest call of her career, continued teaching, year after year. She told her story when she could, not for sympathy, but for awareness. She reminded others that sometimes the smallest signs carry the biggest truths, that a child who will not sit down might be carrying a pain too heavy for words. This story is not easy to hear, but it matters, because somewhere, right now, a child is standing silently, hoping someone will notice, someone will care, someone will act. And when one person does, everything can change. Lily's story is not just about tragedy. It is about courage found in the smallest body. It is about a teacher who trusted her instincts. It is about the power of paying attention. Healing does not erase the past, but it proves that the future can still be beautiful. If this story moved you, let it remind you to look closer, listen deeper, and never ignore the quiet signs. Your awareness could save a life. And if you believe stories like this need to be heard, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because together, through shared stories and shared humanity, we can protect the most vulnerable and turn pain into purpose.